Hello and good morning. It is Megan here, the Healing Foods Coach. I hope you're having a great day on Thursday, the 19th of September. And it is just before 9 o'clock in the morning. And I thought just to mix it up a little bit, I'm going to be sitting down for this particular video instead of standing every time. So, what is today's topic? Well, I thought this could be a really helpful and useful one because it's something I've had to do myself, and sometimes we know we need to do this, but perhaps we feel anxious or we're not sure how to do that, and that is being our own health advocates. What do I mean by that? Well, I mean sometimes we have to be willing to question standard medical advice. Now, let me be clear. I have nothing but great respect for the medical professional. I truly do. I've had so many torn ligaments and broken bones and fractured this and that throughout my life, just so many different falls, sledding or skating, playing hockey, skiing, all the good winter sports that come with growing up in Canada. And every single time, I am so glad I was brought to a doctor who knew what to do. Whether it was a cast, whether it was a cast and crutches, or whatever advice I was given for that particular injury or situation, I was so grateful to have a doctor who knew what they were doing. Okay. And that includes, by the way, nurses, nurse practitioners, of course, physiotherapists. My mother trained as one. I've had several throughout my fibromyalgia journey, and I've had nothing but incredible positive support and help from those who trained in these professions. However, the good ones out in the medical field will admit and will say to you, if you ask, that they don't know everything about absolutely everything, and they can't. And so that is why, for example, after my disc injury, I was seen by the orthopedic surgeon consultant who confirmed the disc bulge. And I was, as my fibromyalgia symptoms started to occur within the month after the injury, I was seen by my GP. Now, they weren't everywhere at that point. It started in just a few places, slowly, and so he thought it was part of the injury, but he gave me the pain medications to help ease my discomfort, okay, which is great, which is what I needed. But as the next few months rolled on, and as the next year rolled on, and the pain got worse, and I needed more and more medication, I kept asking him, well, what could it be? Because surely this is not from the disc. Surely, the surgeon is saying it should be healing. Therefore, why do I have this pain in my soft tissues in my legs and arms primarily? And I kept going back, and I kept asking him to look into it further. Now, he admitted to me that he didn't know what it might be. He admitted, he was a great GP. He admitted he didn't know what was causing all this widespread pain, why it would come and go. And so, you know what he did? He referred me on to someone with more expertise. He referred me on to a rheumatologist. Within the 15-month period it took from the start of my symptoms to a final diagnosis, I went to the rheumatologist at least 4 times. I had 3 sets of blood work done because they wanted to be certain it wasn't rheumatoid arthritis, and they wanted to rule out lupus, and they wanted to rule out chronic fatigue syndrome, which they did. And so it was the feedback from the final visit to a rheumatologist who said, you know what, we've ruled everything out. I believe it's fibromyalgia. This is what I'm going to pass on to the GP. The GP then went and made that clinical diagnosis in December of 2015 that I had fibromyalgia. Why do I share that story? Because if I hadn't pushed, if I had just kind of accepted that I would just have a lot of pain for no known reason, and that was all I could do, I never would have had the diagnoses. I never would have been able to try to figure out how to mitigate the situation, how to lessen the pain if possible. Now, I did try physiotherapy exercises. I did do hydrotherapy for a time. Unfortunately, those things were not effective, which is often the case with fibromyalgia. But sometimes you have to try different things in order to rule them out as, no, it's not this condition, or no, this therapy isn't going to work. And in my case, of course, I had no idea that my inflammatory foods that I was regularly eating, loads of caffeinated beverages, coffee, and sometimes tea, but mostly coffee, along with skimmed milk. Milk is an inflammatory food, along with all the low fat sugars, lots of margarine, whole wheat bread, starchy carbs in general. Those things were aggravating my chronic inflammation, which was then, of course, making the fibromyalgia pain that much worse. And I didn't know it at the time. And of course, none of these doctors were aware that nutrition had played such a role, because in mainstream medicine, there is not enough of a understanding, simply because they are training in so many other aspects of human health and healing, whether it's setting broken bones, whether it's treating cancer, or whether it is helping somebody on crutches because they sprained their ankle. There are so many other acute health issues that nutrition kind of comes down to the bottom of the list, where actually nutrition probably needs to be much higher up. However, that is not where the state of our medical system is at the moment, whether it's here in the UK, in England, where I live, or whether that's in Canada or the US or most other countries. And that is simply the way it is, because they have to try to treat and look after those urgent cases first, which makes perfect sense. However, that means that we have to then be our own personal advocates. For myself, when I was going through fibromyalgia, when I suddenly had to accept the fact that my life, my mobility was never going to be what I thought it would. At least it wasn't for 10 years. Well, sorry, for the 9 years following, it wasn't. And I had to, in some ways, accept what I was told, because I didn't know any different. But when things got to the worst they possibly had ever been in 2020, and I knew I had an underactive thyroid, I had fatty liver disease, I had IBS, I had fibromyalgia pain, massive brain fog, all the other things I realized I had to figure out some things for myself. I had to do my own research. I had to question, is there anything else I can do? Now, COVID helped because nobody was seeing their doctors. Unless you had COVID, you weren't seen by medical staff, generally speaking. You weren't, or you were in a care home. And so I had to start doing my own research. And for that reason, I'm so thankful, because I found keto carnivore. I removed all the foods that were causing me severe inflammation and gut issues. And I started to lose the weight, lose the inflammation, clear up the brain fog, and started to feel a change in my overall physical being. But that was because I did my own research. I had to figure out what was going on. Just as I advocated for at least 3 years before finally getting a diagnosis that, yes, I had hypothyroidism, I kept pushing, I kept asking for tests every year to say, look, I'm positive something's wrong with my thyroid, please look into it. And eventually they did, and they said, yes, in fact, it's underactive. So yes, we absolutely need to do something about that. But even then, when I realized that being on the thyroid medication was not helping me slow down and lose weight, I was still putting on weight, I was still feeling horrible, I was still having all the common symptoms, I started to dig into it deeper. And so I put this before you, first of all, that nutrition plays an absolutely critical role in our overall health. Okay? If we break a bone, it can affect how well we heal from that. Not that we'll never break bones, but that if we have an injury, if we have good non-inflammatory diet and we are in a state of being able to heal our bodies instead of constantly fight the inflammation from the foods we eat, we heal a lot faster. Okay, so those things were critical. And as soon as I understood that, I was able to make incredible changes in my overall physical health and mental health. Certainly it helped improve my spiritual health and well-being. But more than that, I realized that sometimes we have to look outside what is the standard accepted protocol in order to find healing. And not because doctors want us sick and unwell. I don't believe that. I believe they do their jobs because they want to help people. But sometimes we have to be our own advocates. especially if it's outside of, say, healing, repairing broken bones and things like that. When it comes to healthy weight and brain functioning and overall mental well-being, we need to be our own advocates to improve our own health through diet as a starting point. We may still need help and medication along the way, and I think there can be a place for that. But it's okay to ask questions, and it's okay to push for different answers. So we don't always have to take a pill. We don't always have to have the surgery. There may be other ways around our situations. And so we have to be our own health advocates. Not that we argue with our doctors, but that we are willing to do our own research, ask questions, and push back if we feel, no, I don't want to do this. Let's come up with a better alternative. I hope this is helpful. I hope that you guys find this informative. If you are interested in learning more, or you want some one-to-one coaching, of course, go to my website down in the bottom here, book a session, and I would love to help you and work with you. And let's start healing together. Have yourselves a great day. See you in the next video. Bye for now.